Hey everyone, welcome back to our homestead. I'm Janessa from the blog almostheavenhomesteading.com. Welcome here if you are new here, and if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining us again this week. It is to the point in late summer where several of my herbs are just out of control. I've been trimming them back a little bit through the summer and hanging them to dry, but I need to trim them again because they are growing like crazy. And so I want to show you all how I trim my herbs and hang them and dry them so that I can use them all winter long. So let's get started with this. Harvesting your herbs is a very simple process, and this is something that I like to do all throughout the summer to encourage new growth on my plants. But towards the late summer or early fall, you need to start thinking about cutting your plants back for the end of the season. I'm not quite there, but I am going to be harvesting quite a few today, but I'll probably cut back once or twice more before the fall. And to do that, you want to just snip off your stems about halfway in between the ends of the leaves and the base of the plant. You don't want to take more than about half of your plant if you want your plant to regrow again next season. Now, if your plant is an annual, you don't need to worry about that. You can just take the entire plant. But if it's a perennial, you definitely want to be mindful of the next season when you are harvesting. So I've harvested all of the herbs that I'm going to harvest today, and I'm just going to bring them in here to my dining room table so that I have a nice place to work to get these strung and hanging to dry. And so to do this, you'll only need a few items. All you need is your herbs, some cotton kitchen string, some scissors, and a place to dry your herbs. And you do not need any kind of special place. I hang these all throughout my little tiny house, and this time of year I just have herbs hanging everywhere, which might look a little crazy, but I actually think it looks pretty charming. So anyway, you don't need a special place. All you need is basically anywhere inside your home that is not excessively hot or humid. If your home is consistently above 80 degrees and really humid, you might have some issues with mold growing in your herbs, which is definitely not a good thing. If that happens, you can't save those bundles. But most people obviously aren't going to have their home consistently at or above 80 degrees and really humid, so most likely you will be fine. So let's get into the process of bundling these herbs. As I mentioned, it can be a little bit of an issue to have mold growing in your herbs, and so to avoid that, you just don't want to bundle too many together. You just need good airflow going through your herbs, and if you have that, you should be fine. I've actually never had any problems with mold growing in my herbs yet. That's not to say that I never would if I get too many in a bundle, but if you keep about 3 to 5 stems in a bundle, you should be good to go. If your home is on the warmer side, maybe stick to the 3. And if you keep it cooler, then go ahead to the 5 stems in a bundle. But just keep them pretty small to where you can get some good airflow through them, and you should be fine. So let's talk about how we're going to string these up. Like I mentioned, I like to use cotton kitchen string. I just like to use the cotton undyed string so that I don't have any dyes or chemicals coming in contact with my herbs, and I just find it really easy to work with. So I cut a 12 to 18 inch length of string for each herb bundle, and then I loop the 2 ends over. Then I will lay the stems toward the end of the little loop and pull the 2 cut pieces through that loop. And then I will just double the ends over and tie a knot with enough of a loop at the end of the knot to hang them wherever I'm going to be hanging my herbs. And then after I have all of my bundles strung, all I'm going to do is hang them throughout the home wherever I can find a spot. And like I said, they usually end up everywhere in my tiny house, and that's okay. That just means I'll have delicious herbs for all of my savory dishes through the winter. If you would like to see some close-up pictures of the process of stringing those herbs, just head over to the blog at almostheavenhomesteading.com and check out the post so that you can see some of those close-up pictures and definitely see how this is completed. So like I said, I've already been harvesting some of my herbs throughout the summer, and some of them are actually already dry. So I want to show you what we're going to do with these herbs once they have hung and dried for a couple weeks, and how I like to package these. Alright, so once your herbs have dried, all you need to do is take them down and remove them from the cotton string. Now, you could just package them in a jar or an airtight container just like that. You could leave them whole if you wanted to, but I'm going to show you a few more steps that I like to do to just get these dried herbs ready to be added to soups, stews, any kind of dishes. So I like to just run my fingers down the stems to remove all of the leaves first of all. I like to just use those leaves. The stems can be kind of tough and brittle, so I just run my fingers down the stem to remove the leaves. Now, if your herbs are good and dry, this should not be a problem at all. If they are not dried, you will notice that it's pretty difficult to remove those leaves that way. But if they are dry, those leaves will just slide right off of the stem. Now, from there, you can just kind of break them apart with your fingers if you just wanted them to be really roughly broken apart, or you can roughly chop them with a wide blade knife, which is what I like to do for most of mine. Also, just keep in mind what you're using the herb for. For something like peppermint, I'm going to be using that mostly for teas, so I don't need it chopped as fine. I can just add that to my little steeper and I can have some larger pieces of herbs. But if I'm going to be using something like parsley or tarragon, I want that to be a little finer so that I don't have big chunks of herb in my dish. So I'm going to go ahead and chop those pretty fine with that wide blade knife. So just go ahead and remove those herbs from the stem and chop them with your knife, however coarse or fine you would like them to be. And from there, you want to go ahead and add them to an airtight container. I like to store as many things as I possibly can in glass, so I'm just going to be using some little half-pint mason jars, or pint if I have enough of the herb. And I'm just going to add those to that jar, add the lid, and I'm going to store these in a dry, cool location. I like to keep my jars of herbs right next to my stove in a little cabinet so that they are easy access to flavor all of my dishes with these delicious dried herbs straight from my herb garden. Herbs are honestly one of my favorite things to grow and to have on hand. They are so simple and so delicious to have fresh herbs through the summer to add to your dishes, and these dried herbs maintain just as much flavor when you dry them this way. And herbs are honestly really good for you. They add a boost of antioxidants to your dishes when you add them in, and they just make everything taste so much better. I love having parsley and rosemary and oregano on hand for all of my Italian-inspired dishes. Oregano is also great for those Mexican-inspired dishes. Things like sage are most useful around Thanksgiving time in stuffings and recipes like that. And these are just so good, and they are so flavorful when you dry them with this method. This is a really old-fashioned method of drying herbs. Some people will tell you that you need a dehydrator or different equipment like that, and you really don't. You just need to hang them and just let them dry and let time work its magic on these herbs. And I love not only culinary herbs, but medicinal herbs as well. And things like peppermint are so good for making tinctures for an upset stomach. I actually have a post up on the blog on a lemon balm lavender bath salt, which is very soothing and relaxing. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check that out. And let me know in the comments below what herbs you love to grow. What do you use in your dishes, or what medicinal herbs do you love to have in your garden? I would honestly love to know. Maybe I'll get some inspiration for some of my own dishes as well. So anyway, I wanted to just thank you all again for stopping by our homestead, and let me know if you found this video educational, or if you learned something new about drying herbs, or if this is something that you've been doing for years. Just let me know in the comments below. We would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, or if you even decided to subscribe to our channel. We make a new video every week on wholesome, self-sufficient, and handcrafted living. So we would love if you would journey with us and tag along for that ride. Anyway, I'll see you all next week. Have a wonderful weekend.